Good afternoon, everyone, and great being here. Thank you very much. What I'm going to run you through today is why we believe business travel needs to be sexy and what we really mean with sexy. If you can get the deck up. Let's see. Okay, so we're a company based out of Berlin, so home turf for us. And we started in 2014 really with the vision of making hotel stays seamless and easy. And if you really think about traveling and business travel in particular and staying at hotels, to be quite frank, for many travelers it's a pain in the ass, right? Because, I mean, put yourself in this very second, and if you have to close your eyes, but think about the last time you really stayed at a hotel. Actually put yourself into that stay. What happened? You went to that front desk. Does the clicker work? Someone that can't move forward. Hold on. Let's see if this is, we can get this up and running. Okay, maybe I was pressing too lightly. So you queue, you go to the front desk. You have to fill out a registration form. In Germany, a city tax form. You have to hand over your credit card, you have to pre-authorize your credit card, you get your physical key. It's a really, really long and windy process. And I guess, all of you sitting here, you've been running through this. And this is only the start, right? So it goes on. Next morning, remember to wake up early because you had this, peanuts and Coke from the minibar, right? You all know that. So you go down and you split your bill. So you go to the reception and you go ahead and you start splitting that bill. So, okay, it's working now. So company bill, private bill, go ahead and separating that. And then again, queuing, waiting, going ahead, catching your taxi, and off you go. It's really not easy, it's really not simple, it's really not straightforward. And sort of this is when it all starts for you. So you go back home, you sit down, you start doing your expensing. I mean, this is a super pain, especially for those people traveling 3 times a week, those frequent travelers. And if you look at corporates, it's a huge pain for them as well, because corporates start doing all their expensing. Huge piles of paper running through all of that, trying to create some understanding of what was actually happening within the hotel. What corporates especially want to do is they want to understand what is happening inside and try and shed light into the black box hotel. Because it's completely intransparent to big corporates with a lot of corporate travel volume, what is actually happening inside of the hotel. And I'm asking you right here, does all of this sound sexy? Does this sound like something which is, super innovative and 2018? Not really. But if you look at a couple of figures and you look at especially sort of the upcoming travelers, we have corporate partners, especially consulting firms, which have 90% Generation YZ travelers. Those are the travelers, which come from university, which are, they know their Deliveroo, their Foodora, their Uber ordering. They know all these applications. And they come to a corporate, and they're sort of pushed to do like VPN-style bookings, old school, like 90s style. This is crazy if you think about it. And then you look at these stats, it's like 52% of travelers prefer an Airbnb. I mean, if you see those stats, all emergency, signs should go off to hotels being like, what the heck is actually happening right here? And the truth is, especially those young travelers, they say, hey, this is simple and easy. I don't have to fill out registration forms. I don't have to fill out any city tax forms. It's an easy, simple mobile payment. I don't have to queue for check-in. And it's personalized. I get the best sushi recommendation for the sushi store around the corner. And then look at hotels. What are they doing? So it's a big issue right here, especially with this changing demographic of younger travelers. Now, travel is essential in the war for talent. Travel is absolutely fundamental, and every single corporate out there, regardless if it's an SME, small one, or a big multinational, they all have an issue with finding young and attracting young talent, regardless which company there is. And what we believe is, and we really want to sort of push this forward as well, travel is not simply a cost center. Travel is actually a value creation center. And if you think about it, there's an underlying reason why people travel. They travel from A to B to create value. They don't travel just for the travel reason. So at the end of the day, it is really important that the traveler is empowered and the traveler has the best possible experience to perform to the highest standards while he's on the road and while he's at this business meeting. In fact, those people who you actually send out traveling, those are your important people. Those are your people who are out at the front representing the companies. And especially sort of with young travelers coming, travel is essentially the glue which keeps the entire... Can we get this back up? Travel is the glue which keeps the entire organization together. Yeah? And what's happening is, if you look at travel as the glue, you can essentially look at it as something which touches the entire company on the horizontal level, so across different departments, and vertically, right? So from sort of recruits joining the company to sort of, the top C-level. Everyone is in touch with travel. Should I jump through this again? Yeah, fine. Okay, you've seen all of this. Let me move forward. Excuse me, but this is... Once we're back on track, it should be fine. So again, travel is the glue which touches the entire organization on a horizontal and a vertical level. And if you look at corporates and you look at sort of what they're doing and what they're focusing right now, in the last couple of years, the core focus really was on cost saving, right? It was purely about reducing the ADRs of hotels, bringing down the costs. At the end of the day, that's got nothing to do with traveler empowerment, right? It's really about making sure that travelers have the best experience, because at the end of the day, an enhanced traveler experience will lead to reduced costs, right? It's not only about reducing the costs of the hotel stay, but it's about making that process more efficient. So what we do at Conichi is we actually bridge this gap. So we have this technological bridge we've built to bridge the gap between corporates and hotels. And we do this in order to, number one, make it easier for travelers to have a simple and straightforward mobile check-in, check-out process. They can use their smartphone, they can use an online check-in, like all of you know from Lufthansa and the airlines. They can use that to check in and check out of the hotel. So before that trip, they get an email, they complete the check-in. Next morning, 6 o'clock, they run through the checkout, they can split the bill. Very straightforward, very simple. We then go ahead and we actually try and personalize the experience, because not every traveler is the same. So again, we try and give the hotel more information about who that traveler is to personalize the entire in-stay experience. If you look at corporates, every single corporate out there has a different way, a different deal they've had with hotels. One gets 50% off food, the other one gets a free spa voucher, the next one gets high-speed Wi-Fi. But do travelers actually know what they get at the hotel? Can the hotel actually show off what all their services are in the best possible way? Usually not, because there is no direct connection between the hotel and the corporate. And that's exactly what we do here. We create this seamless experience, making sure travelers have the best in-stay experience and in-stays possible. So on the traveler side, the fundamental reason why travel needs to be sexy is because, number one, travelers, and especially the young travelers, are used to the experience, right? They know the Uber style, they know the Foodora style, they use apps to order and to pay, so they expect the same from hotels and from corporate travel programs as well. Time loss of employees is a huge cost block. And we still meet corporates and tell to them, we save your company time, and they're like, those aren't costs. Hey, it's the biggest cost block in companies, right? It's the #1 cost block. And every single hour or half hour or 20 minutes saved of an employee, freed up of not having to fill out registration forms, is pure cash. And if we look at our Germany 30 and our Fortune companies, we're saving the multi-millions just purely in time savings and straightforward processes. And lastly, high satisfaction. We boost the NPS score of corporates around 60% by just giving them an innovative tool. And that is fundamental for a good program. That's why business travel needs to be sexy, because that's what those travelers expect. And that, again, is a core tool to tie travelers to your company. On the corporate side, if you look at corporates, there's a reason why corporate needs to be sexy as well. So for corporates, #1, it's about cost savings, right? But again, hotel ADRs are down here. There is no way that in the next couple of years, ADRs will fall down here. There's just a natural limit to how low hotel rates can go. So negotiating down the rates is not the way to move forward. What corporates have to do is they really have to look at what are the bigger cost blocks, and that's really everything in regards to process costs. I mean, it's crazy. Think about this. They go ahead, and within business travel, they optimize everything before business travel, the entire sourcing and the booking, and they optimize everything after, the expensing, but the actual stay is exactly the same for years and years. And that's really what we focus on. Attracting tech-savvy talent, as I mentioned earlier, we have corporates which are 80% Generation Y, Z travelers, so having a really easy and sexy tool for them. And lastly, understanding what is actually happening inside of this black box hotel. What is happening in terms of compliance? Is the rate I booked, is that the rate I paid? How much, it might be, and this is, again, it's crazy. They go out and they agree on a rate, 100 euros, okay, whatever it is. And they say it's a great rate, but they don't actually know what is happening, how much parking, how much auxiliaries, how much other sort of add-ons are travelers consuming. And getting an understanding of this black box hotel is fundamentally important. So traveler empowerment, and we call it empowerment rather than sort of traveler centricity, is core to a really great program. And it's not only core because it increases satisfaction, but it actually saves costs. And the next slide I brought you is a really corporate-y sales slide. But I want to show this to you because it's not just, blah, blah, up in the cloud stuff about traveler empowerment and centricity, but it's really about actually saving costs. This is a slide I brought, one of our corporate partners of, the savings we're actually generating, right? So if you look at the first bucket, this really comes into, savings on the sourcing side. So what are we actually saving by pushing your travelers and making the hotels more prominent, which are actually cost-saving properties? Because what we see is that if hotels become smart hotels, those are the hotels working with us, they get a 10% increase in booking volume. And this is translated to corporate saving as well. If we look at time saved of employees, a huge cost block, just making the process more efficient, more straightforward, huge time saving there. And lastly, again, increasing the compliance, making sure what's actually happening in the hotel to get a greater understanding. So if we look at this corporate example, it adds up to roughly 3.5 million in savings a year, plus, and what we value as a lot more important, an increase in the NPS. Because the traveler satisfaction is the core of what any program should focus on. But again, it's more than just monetary, right? So on the one side, it's about traveler satisfaction, making sure they're happy. That's key to a sexy program. More data insights. Again, the only way for you to control and steer a program is by knowing what's actually happening. Duty of care, making sure travelers have checked in, making sure they've checked out. I mean, it's sad to say, but in this world today, it's important to know where travelers are and to actually have this full understanding of what's going on. Being able to enhance the overall process, right? Sourcing, really, really big deal for both hotels and corporates, right? For the hotel side, being more attractive to corporates. And on the corporate side, sourcing those hotels which offer a very easy and simple check-in, check-out process. Greater compliance, greater understanding of what's actually happening inside of the hotel. And lastly, a core tool for employer branding. Working together with a big company in Silicon Valley who is using our tool for their recruits, right? So they're saying if people which come to an interview to Palo Alto, if they arrive, they should experience the best travel possible. Because again, I mean, all of you know that travel or an interview is not a one-sided thing. You as a candidate, you want to understand how good is that employer? What does he give me? How will I experience my work there? And actually offering a great travel program from day zero is absolutely key. And that's essentially sort of what we're focusing on there. So, it's sort of, I think what if you can click one forward, I think what we have to sort of look at is leveling this technological playing field, right? It's really about getting ready for the future. That's why it needs to be sexy. It needs to be sexy now because there is actual value to capture at this point in time. And lastly, to be ready for everything which is coming. If I show you the next slide, this will be quite evident, and there'll be a couple buzzwords on there, and I'll try to jump in to those points and give you an understanding of what's going on. If we can move one forward, one slide, you'll see sort of the different trends which you can add on to optimize the overall process, which essentially starts with greater personalization, and greater personalization driven, for example, by AI. I mean, it's a fact that my smartphone knows me better than my mom, right? Because they know everything, what I like, what I dislike, and using that to personalize the in-stay experience, using AI, using machine learning to understand what travelers like. Again, it's something which no travel program in the world can do manually, but actually getting a deeper understanding of your travelers and customizing according to that. In fact, if you look at that, by the way, hotels have got a huge opportunity there. If you look at upselling potentials of hotels, they're pretty low. because hotels are not using the full knowledge of their guests to upsell offerings in the right way. If I think about, and if you think about the last time you ordered in room at your hotel, you got out this paper menu, which was probably slightly disgusting, and you sort of looked at what there is to order, some crazy sort of descriptions of burgers and club sandwiches, and you think about the last time you ordered on Deliveroo or Foodora or Lieferando or whatever. Nice pictures, very easy, 2 clicks, and it's ordered. In the hotel scenario, you pick up your phone, get the receptionist, you wait. Come on, I mean, this is not 2018, right? So this is really what you can do here, using AI and learning to say, hey, you're a traveler, this might be suited to exactly you. The next one is what we think one of the biggest opportunities. If you look at blockchain payments, so those of you who are familiar with blockchain, essentially a distributed ledger technology of decentralizing payments, currently in travel, a lot of money is being lost just due to pure credit card transaction fees. And this is a standard process if you look at sort of the leisure travel space, right? There's nothing you can do, a leisure traveler coming to a hotel, handing over my credit card and paying. Okay, that's fine. But now you look at corporate travel, right? In corporate travel, there's an existing contract between a big corporate and a hotel. It's a negotiated contract. I negotiate my rate, I shake hands and say, you're my hotel partner. And still, do I go ahead and I pay credit card fees for me as a corporate to say, yes, I will pay you money. I mean, that's nothing else what a credit card does. So actually using blockchain to facilitate a feeless payment is big. But in order to do that, and again, it's a saving for the hotel and for the corporate, you need a technological playing field in order to use all those services. And lastly, as mentioned, sort of optimizing more and more processes, making them more standard, more straightforward. Especially in hospitality, we're seeing the issue that there is sort of a lot of fragmentation and different sort of prerequisites of corporates of how process should be handled. Different virtual credit cards, different check-in processes. So, corporate A comes and says, if my travelers check in, make sure to give them the high-speed Wi-Fi voucher. The next corporate says, if my employees check in, you need to get a virtual credit card out of the fax machine. The next one says, well, you need to log in into PCI portal. So in order to sort of consolidate this into one straightforward stream, so essentially what Uber has done for travel, for taxi, where regardless if in the US or in America, US or in Africa or in Europe, you enter an Uber, it's always the same straightforward ride process, right? You go into the car, you leave the car, payment is done. That's exactly what we try and resemble in the hotel and business travel scenario. So that's why we believe business travel needs to be sexy, hotels need to be sexy, and sort of our question to you and everyone here, how sexy are you, right? And how ready for this sort of future, because it's not only future. The majority of this, and especially the cost-saving part, is running right now in corporates all around Europe and the US. There's a lot of potential, and I think we're at the point now in time where, due to the powerful smartphones and powerful technology, we can do all of this in no time. And especially with sort of the change of demographic of younger travelers coming into corporates, time's ripe and the opportunity is there. Thank you very much. I'd like to use the time and just if there are any questions, otherwise we have our booth just right across the hall, just right here, 10 meters from here. Come by, drop in for a world-class espresso or cappuccino, and I'm happy to show you the solution in more detail. And on that, thank you very much.